Hi, I'm Bob Tabor with LearnVisualStudio.net. In this lesson, we're going to further extend the capabilities of our grouped items page, the start page, by adding semantic zoom. So you can think of semantic zoom as simply another view of this page. We've already looked at the various states of the page that we manage with media queries in JavaScript. Now we want to allow users, whenever they're in full screen landscape, to use that pinching motion, or they can use the mouse and the keyboard, the control key on the keyboard and the mouse wheel in order to switch between two views. There's the normal view, which is the zoomed in view that we're familiar with. And then there's a zoomed out level that we're going to add. And when we go to that zoomed out level, we want to show just the group names like Chinese, French, so on. And then the pictures from the group detail page, right? The maps. Albeit a little bit smaller and in a different configuration so we can fit more groups on the same page at the same time. So as you're going to see in a moment, we're going to replace the grouped items list in our, let's get there. So we're here on the group detail page, or grouped items page rather. Let's zoom in a little bit here. So what we'll wind up doing is we'll wind up replacing this section with a new one with a semantic zoom control in the guise of a div tag, and which in turn will enclose two other list view controls for the zoomed in and zoomed out scenario. And so a semantic zoom control, real simple, it's another WinJS control. Another personality, Windows 8 personality control. It has two states, obviously the zoomed in view and the zoomed out view. And then that's all we're going to have to do. We're just going to define the templates that we'll use for each of those two views, and or those two states. And then the semantic zoom control takes care of displaying the correct list view in response to the touch-based gestures on the tablet or its corresponding keyboard and mouse combination, like I said a moment ago. So just to be clear, we are going to be working in lab number 2, and this time in exercise number 3. And so at the very outset here, it wants us to open up the grouped items.html page, and then we're going to find that section element that contains the list view control at the very bottom, and we're going to rewrite it to include the semantic zoom and two other list controls, one representing the zoomed in and the other one representing the zoomed out view. All right, now it's a little tricky on this page for some reason to get over here to the right hand side to actually copy stuff, but I was able to do it, and so we're just going to replace this whole section here, and let me tab it over a little bit. All right. So we can look through and inspect this. I think the key here is this div, which, as you can see, the data win control is set to a winjs.ui.semantic-zoom. And the data win options, the extra options that are added on, just gives you a initially zoomed out property equal to false. So initially we're going to be zoomed in to the view that we're most familiar with now. And then just two other div tags that will be replaced with list views. One for zoomed in view and one for the zoomed out view. Okay, so that's the first step. And like we said, we're going to have to create templates for the new zoomed out item template state. So let's go ahead and add the following statements to the grouped items.html after the div tag whose class is the item template. Right, because we just need a second template here. So we should be able to go right here where the rest of the templates are and paste that in. All right. And let me get all the indentation right here. I think we had a little bit of a challenge there. Okay. Great. Looks good. And now the last thing I think we need to do is modify the grouped items.js. And so replace the ready function and the update layout function with the one shown here. Let's take a quick look at what's going to happen. First of all, we get references to these two list view controls representing the zoomed in and zoomed out list view. Here we'll set some of the properties of the zoomed out list view, not the least of which is the item template, the item data source. Interestingly enough, when we are in snapped, we're going to lock the semantic zoom and then we will unlock it whenever we are not in a snap state, okay? Because we don't want somebody to be able to semantic zoom when we're in the snap state. All right, very interesting. And then let's see, in the update layout, nothing really that I want to point out here. So we're just basically setting up and binding the data to the correct templates, and that's about it. So let's go ahead and just put this in. We're going to replace again the ready and update layout. So let's go ahead and make sure this all gets selected. There's ready, and there's update layout. Again, I don't want to paste over that comma, or actually I do in this case. All right, just want to make sure there's one there. All right, so that step has been completed. And then task number 3, we're going to modify the grouped item CSS. And so we want to add the following statements at the very top. So we're just creating specific to the zoomed out list view ID, setting the margin, the height, the item container, which will actually hold the list items that will be displayed. Since they'll be different, we want them displayed kind of as 6 large options, not just the little individual items like we see currently on the page. And looks like there's some styling around the zoomed out item count as well, putting it in a second row, aligning it, and so forth. Okay, interesting. I'm not going to take the time to really read that through, but if I wanted to tweak it, I certainly could spend a little more time with it. So, per their instructions, we're going to go to the very top and paste all this in. And now I believe we're ready to run it. Yeah, so here we go. Let's go ahead and run it in simulator. Okay, so there's 3 ways to get this to work. The first way is to hold down the control button and then use your mouse scroll wheel. I'm not going to demo that because it doesn't really work well on my machine while I'm recording. The next way to do it is to actually use this little minus sign here in the lower right hand corner to get into the semantic zoom. All right, and you can see once we make a selection from here, we go to that position in our page, so we're landing on in Mexican food as opposed to at the very beginning of that page, like Chinese food. And then the other way to do it is to actually use our little pinch zoom touch mode. And so let's go ahead and start way out here, and I'm pinching in to get to semantic mode, zoom mode, and then selecting Indian to jump to the Indian food. Awesome. Okay, very cool. So like I promised, changes are now coming quickly because you've already got the foundational concepts under your belt. The app is looking great. It's responsive to the user's whims. It feels like a part of Windows 8 increasingly more and more. So we want to start integrating Windows 8 into the rest of the application to enable searching and sharing, which brings us to lab number 3. In the next lesson, we'll see you there. Thank you.